This video is brought to you by Sporlan, quality, integrity, and tradition.
We got a service call this evening on a walk-in freezer not working. It is Saturday, April 12th. It's about 8:30 at night, 8:20. Customer says the walk-in freezer is not working, and when I got here, he had already taken the cover off trying to troubleshoot it himself. He was nice enough to leave me all the screws right there, so that's cool. Let's head inside and have a look at the evaporators real quick. We've got a disconnect out here, equipment out here, and then evaporator inside. They have a twist timer and stuff, so let's go have a look in there real quick. Come inside to the freezer. Evaporator's up here. Nothing's running on this. Ice cream is more like soft serve or something. It's pure liquid. So all right, let's head outside and have a look at the condenser, get into the electrical on that. All right, so we come over to the condensing unit. We've got a defrost clock right here. This is kind of the brain. So if we go between 1 and N, we have no voltage. We should have voltage there all the time. Let's go to the top of the contactor. Top of the contactor indicates we have voltage, 208. Make sure we have 3-phase, 207. So we've got 3-phase coming to the contactor, but no voltage going here. Oh, I see it back here. We've got burnt wires back here. Look at that. Nice disconnect right here. Let's make sure it's off. Yeah, we're dead. Yep, alright. Look, burnt wires. And then burnt wires. We got 2 burnt legs. Let me repair those real quick. Tell you what, having these bags with these pouches and stuff, back in the day, we just had buckets with little plastic containers. These are so much nicer for all my connectors. I went to the van and got some yellow and black wire too to replace what's there. So we're gonna swap those out real quick. Then we'll turn it on, troubleshoot further from there. So I changed one connector, but this terminal's got a bunch of permanently melted plastic on it. I don't like that, so we're gonna swap out this contactor too, and then proceed. But I got the other one came out clean, but oh well. I'll swap this out real quick. Try to keep my van stocked up with both kinds of contactors. So for 208, I've got lugs, non-lugs, and the same for all the other common voltages. 24 volt, double pole, like try to carry lugs and screws. That way you have everything. So swap this guy out real quick. And here we go again on another season of changing out contactors. I don't like the covers to be upside down, so I'm going to rotate the cover around so that way the writing is right side up with the coil voltage on the top. Drives me nuts. Just a pet peeve of mine, not having it upside down. So let's flip it around real quick. Just take this cover off. Got to trim this edge, flip it over, screw it back on, and we'll be good to go. All right, we're all put back together. If I did it right, it won't blow up. 1, 2, 3. Please don't blow up. Sounds right. I'm gonna watch it for a bit and put some service gauges on it. There's actually several burnt wires that I ended up replacing, more than just what we saw. And then like they were doubling up this big yellow one on this terminal with too many terminals, so I put a Wago there instead of having 2 wires on the same terminal like that. But it's running now. Everything seems to be okay, but we're gonna watch it through a cycle, defrost, put some gauges on it, make sure everything's looking good. Check the amp draws of everything. Refrigeration pressures aren't horrible. Saturation temperature on the low side is a little bit low for the box temp, but it very well might have a pressure limiting expansion valve, or it could be oversized condenser. It's clear sight glass. Let's go see if the evaporator fan motors are running yet. All right, everything is running. Evaporators are running, all 3. Moving the air, they're sucking air up through. That's how these ceiling mounted center line coils work. They're blowing it out the front. We just need to watch it through a couple cycles, put it through defrost, see it pump down, turn on, make sure nothing funky's happening, trying to recreate whatever caused the wires to burn if we can. This condenser fan motor's running 0.5 amp. That's not a problem. This one I gotta put the phone down to get it. This one's a 9721 motor, but that should be running no more than 1 amp, I think. This one's fine because this one says 1 amp max too. So let me jump on this one. 0.53 on that one. So those aren't overamping. Compressor 8 amps. On this guy right here, 10.9 is full load. So we're fine on that one. Let's check each winding. Make sure there's nothing funky going on. 8 amps. Crankcase heater, 0.3 amps, don't see a problem with that. Injection solenoid, 0.28 amps, don't see a problem with that. So this right here, whenever the compressor's running, turns on or allows flow through this injection right here. It's a liquid injection to help cool off the internals of the compressor. So it uses a current sensing relay right here. Whenever it senses current on the compressor, it opens that solenoid valve and allows flow. Everything's looking good so far, so we're gonna let it run for a while, get cold, and then we'll put it into a defrost and test the defrost circuit. For you OG viewers that have been around for a while, this is the one 4 or 5 years ago. I came out here and the suction line and the liquid line were missing, and someone robbed it all the way up to the compressor. And then I came back 2 days later and realized that they stole the copper from the ACs on the roof. It was like during COVID, and they were without like 4 ACs for most of the summer because we had equipment shortages and everything. It was a freaking disaster. So I have like PTSD when I get nighttime service calls here, thinking I'm gonna come and the condenser's gonna be missing or something. It's on a back dock, so people can come in. They come in, the tweakers. This isn't a bad area, so they come in and they steal shit. All right, it's been running for a bit, so we're gonna try to crank this guy into defrost. So we're gonna turn this clock. The clock kind of gets stuck a little bit. It's not really turning very well. There we go. Red light came on. I want to watch it pump down and shut off. Make sure it's kicking off where it should be and we don't got a messed up pressure control. It's shutting off. I don't know that pressure control. Or do we have a compressor? You hear the check valve? The check valve in that compressor was like chug-a-luggin'. Okay. Let's test the defrost heaters on this bad boy. So we go to number 3. Oh yeah, defrost heaters are kicking butt. They're not overamping. We're gonna go ahead and crank this guy out of defrost real quick. There we go. See what it turns on at. Oh, you know what? It's gonna be the time delay. I did adjust the pressure control a little bit higher though, because it seemed like the cutout was a little low. It's this time delay. It's holding us out. Pain in the butt. For testing purposes, I disconnected the time delay really quick, just so I can see it turn on and off. I want to see this thing pump down again, because I adjusted the pressure control a little bit lower. Let's click it back into defrost again. There we go. So it shuts off that now. Listen to like the floating seals like releasing or something. There's something going on inside that compressor. It's probably a long time of having the pressure control be out of whack. Let's try that. That was crazy. When it turns on it. Yeah, but see now my suction pressure has to come up too high to turn on. I don't want it to be that high. I gotta play with the differential. Cause yeah, that's too high. There we go. I need to play with this a little bit more. I'll deal with that in a minute though, but I wanna see it shut off again. See this. There we go. Cut out at 13. Listen to that. There's something going on in that compressor. I don't think I'm cutting out too low anymore. We're gonna have to warn them about that. The check valve or something's going on internally. When you shut it off, you can hear it. And usually you can see that if you have it cutting out too low, but I have it cutting out at like 15. It's not going to be too low for this guy. But it's not like it's permanently bleeding through or anything. It's just weird when the floating seal drops, you're just hearing like a little clunking. Huh, interesting. So it's cutting in about 30, cutting out maybe about 13. You hear that? It's interesting. I shut the unit off to put the time delay back in play, and not even on a pump down. The compressor did the same thing, where it, like, when you shut it off, you could hear the check valve like bouncing or something, or the floating seal bouncing. Interesting. Definitely got a problem internally in that compressor. Probably not affecting performance as of yet, but probably will in the future. I didn't see anything dramatically wrong with the refrigerant pressures or anything. It's about 75 degrees outside, so it's not a hot day. We weren't running high head pressure. Suction pressure is a tad on the low side, but I'm not too worried about that right now because we have, you know, very low ambient temperatures, so this condensing unit becomes massively oversized. I can talk about that in the closing words, but we're going to talk to them about that compressor. This unit's in pretty good shape, the equipment in general, so I don't think it's warranted to replace the equipment, but you know, sometimes these customers are like super proactive, and being that this unit is 5 years old, they might not fix it. I don't know. I'm going to talk to them about it, but I think we'll get through the weekend. We'll follow up next week when it's not a weekend. I'm going to put it all together and get out of here. I just realized too, I had the gauges set to 404. This unit's 448A, so that makes it even better. That saturation temp, yeah, I'm not too worried about it at all. But again, we'll follow up. Everything I think is going to be okay for now. Yeah, 448A. All right, we came back out. We're not on overtime. The box has been running good. Customer's been happy, but I'm still not really happy with the way this is operating. So what I'm noticing is we went ahead and probed up on it, high and low pressure. And I'm noticing that when it's running, the suction pressure, the saturation temp on the low side is really low. Like really, really low. And I noticed that over the weekend too. So I don't doubt that we maybe need an expansion valve adjustment, and or this equipment is sized for high ambient temperatures. So that means that right now, when it's, let's see what my outdoor ambient is right now. Outdoor ambient temperature is 58 degrees right now. When it's 58 degrees, this 2 horsepower condensing unit, my guess, becomes like a 3 horsepower condensing unit. It becomes much bigger because the compressor becomes more efficient as the ambient temperature drops, okay? So, and this is a fixed speed compressor. It doesn't change, so therefore, as the ambient temperature drops, the potential delivered capacity rises, right? It goes up. So this unit becomes massively oversized in the low ambient situations. So something's causing us to run really low saturation temperatures, but that's not even the biggest thing that I'm concerned about. What I'm concerned about is that I made a pressure control adjustment, and what I'm noticing is that this box is not really maintaining the proper temperature. So if we come over here, my box temp right now is about 1 degrees, okay? In order, and I'm kind of making a bad connection right now, but if I come over here, it'll make a better connection because it's using Bluetooth and the box is right here. So if I come right here, all of a sudden it's about 1 degree inside that box, okay? So it's 1 degrees in there, and we really need -10 for the ice cream. So I bet you their ice cream is a hair, not liquid like it was over the weekend, but I bet you it's a hair on the soft side essentially, okay? We really need to be getting down to -10, but what's happening is the pressure control is cutting out. Now, there could be a problem with the expansion valve superheat. There could be an oversized condenser, like I said, causing it to run lower. Who knows, okay? But again, that's not even my biggest problem. My biggest problem is that I made that pressure control adjustment to get it to stop from making that pressure relief that was happening, okay? So look, it's coming on right now. So that solenoid valve is still energized this entire time, but it's actually shutting off on low pressure. So it just shut off again. And then now what it's gonna do is it's off again because there's a time delay. Now, if I bypass that time delay, it's just gonna turn on, turn off, turn on, turn off. And the problem that I have is that there's no good way to do this because there's not a check valve installed on the suction line. Now, if there was a check valve installed right here, usually right here, the pressure control gets installed on the outside of the check valve. So that way when it shuts down, that pressure relief that happens gets held back by the check valve, because the check valve only allows the refrigerant to go this way. But if the internal pressure relief in the compressor kind of lets some gas out, it goes into the suction line, then it comes back and turns back on at the pressure control, and then you get that vicious cycle. But if you got that check valve right here and put the pressure control on the other side, then it no longer does that. And what I'm wondering if years ago, when the tweakers came in and stole this suction line, if the check valve was on there and I didn't realize it, because there was no copper left. They stole everything. I think that they stole the check valve, because I'm sitting here looking, usually Heatcraft on these low temp units, they put that check valve. Now, why is this a problem now? I don't know, but I need to set that low pressure control lower, but I can't, because then it's just gonna keep bypassing and keep turning on and off like it is. Like, it's kind of a vicious cycle here. I think it's gonna turn on right now. And when it does turn on, when it shuts down, you still hear that bleeding by inside this compressor. It's like the floating seal, the discharge check valve, something's going on, and you can hear it just weeping gas through. Now, this isn't a reciprocating compressor, okay? So it doesn't have a bad read, right? You can have a bad suction read, and that causes gas to bleed by and stuff. But on this one, it doesn't have a suction read, really. It has a floating seal that lifts and drops, and something's going on inside there. So what I'm gonna suggest to the customer is, I'm gonna suggest, like, they're not complaining about the temps in there right now. I'm gonna suggest that we replace the compressor and we get a check valve. We install that. We'll pull out that suction filter dryer, because we don't need that anymore, and then go through it. But to be honest with you, the customer will probably want to just put a new condensing unit, because it'll honestly be kind of cheaper to put in a new condensing unit. It'll have everything they need instead of having to pay for a new compressor. So if the system's operating right now, I really don't see the point in changing the compressor per se, because I think that the customer is going to spend a crap ton of money doing that when they could just buy a new condensing unit and I don't have to work with the piping. It's all stuff I can do, but I don't know if I can get that check valve today. And, you know, so it's like kind of weird. Yeah, so this is an interesting one. So, opened up Copeland mobile app. In the Copeland mobile app, you can find this compressor. Make sure you find the one with polyester oil, then find the refrigerant and the temperature. Then I navigated over here to the pressure control settings. And on this guy right here, for a ZF compressor, which is what we have, low temp, it's saying for 448A, it's saying, which is kind of bizarre to me, low and high pressure control settings, that's bizarre, but it's saying we can go to -4 and 375 for the max for high. So it's saying the lowest pressure we can go while operating is -4, which, that blows my mind. What the heck? Why so low? That almost seems like a misprint for that. That's bizarre. But for 404, it says 0 PSI. Like, that is so bizarre. Look at, for medium temp, it says 8 PSI. Medium temp for a ZF, it says 17 PSI. Why in the heck would it be 4 vacuum, 4 HG? That's bizarre that it says that low, but that would only work if we had the check valve, because whenever we pump it down that low, the internal, it relieves the pressure from the high side to the low side, and it dumps gas into the low side, then it keeps coming, keeps turning on. So there's something going on in that compressor. Something's weak, something's worn out. It's causing it to make those weird sounds. And I will show you right now. Watch, let's do this real quick. So when I push the contactor in, we're running now, okay? Look at this. Let's just say 13 PSI. Let's just stop it there, okay? Let's say that's the lowest we're gonna get. Listen, let's see if it does it. And now it's gonna make a liar of me. It's not doing it now. It's not doing that weird clicking, popping. Let's do it a little bit lower. According to Copeland Mobile, it says we can go to as low as 0 PSI, which blows my mind. I don't think that's very accurate, but who knows? I mean, I guess whatever, trust Copeland. So now we're down at 11 PSI. Look at our saturation temperature. My liquid line solenoid valve's open. This little punk is not doing it now. What the heck, man? Literally, we've heard it a couple times while we're on the roof. Let me try adjusting that pressure control a little bit lower. It just bypassed the time delay. Now, time delay is not going to cut it out. Let's see where we cut out at when operating. I also need to see if we need to maybe go adjust that superheat on that expansion valve, because maybe Maybe the superheat's way out of whack and that's causing the really low saturation temp, but it still doesn't talk about the issue we're having with the internal in the compressor. Something's going on there. So we're gonna keep letting it go. We can see we're at -1 in the box right now, so it's getting cold in there. But this guy's still running now, so it's not shutting off on low pressure at the moment. This is odd. I'm trying to get it to simulate whatever that sound was again, because I've heard it multiple times this morning. Another thing, it's still running now that I adjusted the pressure control. It's bringing the box temp down to -2. So let's see what happens when it actually shuts off and if we get that weird bypassing sound. But one thing I'm sitting here looking at is that suction line filter dryer. It should have 2 taps on it so that way you can check pressure drop across the filter. The way it's set up, there's only 1 tap, so you can't really check to see if the suction line filter dryer is restricted, which it could be. You know, there's a lot of things going on with this. A question was just asked right now of me, and how come I can't check temperature drop across that filter dryer? And I've, in the past, mistakenly said this, and it's been pointed out that I was incorrect. You can't really check temperature drop across a suction line filter dryer because it's vapor in, vapor out. A liquid line filter dryer, in theory, you've got liquid on one side, then if the dryer's plugged up, it acts as a metering device, so then you have vapor out. So you'd see a temperature difference when it's liquid in, vapor out. But when it's vapor in, vapor out, the temperature difference, if there even is one, is so minute that you're not gonna see it. So that's why we can't do temp check across the suction line filter dryer. We went ahead and used the Copeland mobile app for the diagnostic feature. We inputted suction pressure, discharge pressure, current draw, and voltage, hit calculate, and it gave me 5.6 is the difference between the actual and the rated current draw. That's in a percentage, and it tells you right here, 1 to 10% is normal. So this is normal operation. The compressor is not exhibiting signs of it not pumping correctly. It's just when it shuts off, it's making that weird bypassing sound. So, and I think something's just internally worn out. Probably my guess is because I never realized when they stole that copper that they maybe stole the suction line check valve. And so it's just been struggling since then, maybe? I don't know. Or it could just be worn out too. But yeah, we're just watching this thing. Box temp is -6 now. I made a pressure control adjustment. So that pressure control was holding us back, but it kept doing that weird pumping sound thing. So we'll see. We'll see what happens when it shuts off right now. So we just shut off and it's doing it. See, you're not gonna hear it right now, but it's making the clicking, bypassing, click, 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 click sound. And what's happening is it's slowly building up suction pressure again, but it's actually not enough that it's gonna turn it on. But look, we got our box down to basically box temp now. We're satisfied, -7, that's close enough. I don't think it was the pressure control that shut it off, but it came down, and then now we're stabilized and we're not bleeding back by like crazy. So I don't understand what was going on. I think that something's just going weak in that compressor, because when I was here the other night, this thing was kicking on and off, and I was watching those pressures go really sky high. So we're gonna wait. We're gonna watch it turn on one more time, and then we'll wait and see what happens the next cycle. Again, sometimes, I was just explaining this, sometimes you just gotta wait and watch. Don't rush through it. Like, yeah, it's working, yeah, it's down to temp, but is it working right? Are you hearing these sounds? And this is why I talk about not wearing headphones. If I was wearing headphones blasting through this call, yeah, I could have fixed the electrical short and changed the contactor with headphones on. I could have done it, but I wouldn't have heard that compressor making that sound when it was shutting off, going cluck, 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 cluck. And I know what that sound is. That's like gas bleeding by the floating seal that drops down. Like, it's something weird in there. It's odd. This is a very odd sound. Or it's the check valve failing on the discharge line because there is an internal check valve. Like, there's something funky going on in there. But it's weird because it's not duplicating itself again. We may or may not turn back on because we'll see. We're just gonna let it operate. You never know when you're gonna get those late night calls. So, you know, it wasn't crazy late, but you know, it was a bummer. Like, I would have rather been at home, but that's life. That's, you know, what we do. That's the job that we have. We're there to solve the customer's problems. So they called me on the walk-in freezer. When I got there, you guys saw, I found that there was some burnt wires. Now, those burnt wires, if you trace them back, they were line voltage for the defrost clock. So because the defrost clock wasn't sending power or receiving power to the clock, and then thus it wasn't sending power to the evaporator, the system wouldn't run. Now, why the defrost clock wires burnt like that, or actually just the wires, there was multiple wires in there burnt, I don't know. It could have been a loose wire situation. I don't think it had anything to do with that weird sound I heard coming from the compressor. But I don't know, bottom line, I went ahead and replaced the wires, replaced everything that was damaged, and then also end up having to change the compressor contactor because on the coil voltage side, the plastic was melted onto the little terminal so much that I could have shoved the terminal on there, but it wouldn't have made a good connection. So it's just better changing it. But the contactor itself was actually in pretty good shape. Like I inspected it after I was done, minus the wired plastic crap that melted on the coil wire. But anyways, we got the thing up and running, but I was a little concerned. So I talked to the manager, and we actually went back out the next week, and actually earlier this week now, and went through the system just to kind of reevaluate things. And I still was hearing that weird clicking sound, bypassing sound, whatever that is. And further investigation after thinking about it too, I showed you guys on the Copeland mobile app, because if you go to the Copeland mobile app, look up the compressor, it'll find the AE bulletin for that compressor, which is Copeland's bulletin for that model, that line of compressor. And in there, it has lots of valuable information. So if you've never looked at the AE bulletins for the particular compressors you're working on, I encourage you to do so, because there's so much valuable information in there. Actually, some really cool stuff when you start going through it. You're like, oh, I didn't know that, where to mount the crankcase heater. There's a specific spot on the compressor that the crankcase heater is supposed to go, and a specific orientation. It has all that information in those AE bulletins. So great information. I highly suggest you guys go through it. But one of the things they have is recommended pressure control settings based on box temperature, right? And in doing that, I was a little bit confused at first. Like, why is it that it would allow it to go into negative pressure if it was low temp, but on medium temp, it wanted it at a higher pressure? And then I started thinking the reason why is that suction check valve. If it has the suction check valve, which they typically don't on the medium temp compressors, if it has the suction check valve, at least not to my recollection, but if it has the suction check valve, then like I said, if you do pump it down too low, and it releases that pressure and it goes into the low side, it's not going to turn the compressor back on because of the location of the low pressure control, which should be before the suction check valve. So that way it's isolated and you only shut it down, when you need to. So with that being said, I'm still in talks with the customer, asking them what they want to do. We're giving them quotes to replace the condensing unit versus replacing the compressor and doing the necessary work to add the check valve. And there was something else. I can't remember what else there was. But anyways, it's basically at the customer's discretion. I'm pretty confident, though, they're just going to have us put a condensing unit in there. It honestly would only take me a couple hours. I could have a condensing unit installed, vacuumed down, and started back up in probably 3 to 4 hours if I had it, versus a compressor that's probably going to take me 6 to 8 hours to do all that different work, the piping work and stuff. So who knows, though? The customer makes that decision ultimately. I'm not going to get upset if they choose to repair versus replace. It is what it is. The customer more than likely won't let me sell them a condensing unit. It would be nice if they did, because then I can keep it Heatcraft. But if the customer buys their own condensing unit, which my customers do that, they're going to buy a different brand, and it's not going to be a Heatcraft one, which it'll work fine. It's just, I like matching stuff for my OCD, but then also I just like the quality of the Heatcraft stuff over what they typically go with, which is like RDI Colpack. So, but hey, if it works, it works. Let it be. I really appreciate you making it to the end of the video. Thank you so very much. Hopefully you guys get something from these videos. Let me know in the comments, why do you guys keep watching these videos? What is it about them that you like? My hope is that you guys can learn something, whether it be what not to do or a cool tip, and maybe it helps you guys to prevent you from maybe making some of the same mistakes that I've made. I've had a long career, pretty good career, and I've definitely made a lot of mistakes. So that's one thing that I think these videos can help people, is I can share those mistakes. Like when I give you a tech tip, it's usually because I've either made the mistake, seen the mistake, or heard about that mistake. And I've learned, like, hey, let's not do that, right? So not only do I have, and service technicians in general, not only do we have the skills on how systems operate, but we also have the knowledge of what not to do and why not to do it, right? At least I hope we do. Thank you again so very much for making it to the end of the video. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to this channel. It's a great way to help support the channel.
If you want to support the channel financially, you can do it via PayPal, Patreon, YouTube channel memberships. There's links in the show notes for each one of those platforms. You can also support the channel by going to my website, hvacrvideos.com, where we can get merchandise such as this hat right here. There's a couple other different hats too. Great way to help support the channel. And currently right now, hats are tariff free because I made a big purchase before and I have a big stock of hats right now. So once we get through that stock, then they'll be subject to any tariffs if there is any. Right now, there's a current pause on tariffs. So who knows? Maybe there will be, maybe there won't be. But if you want to attempt to avoid any tariffs and you're looking to purchase a hat, go to hvacrvideos.com. Pick one up now before the prices have to go up, okay? Thank you so very much. Last but not least, if you're interested in purchasing any tools, you can go over to truetechtools.com. I've purchased a lot of my tools, such as the SC480 meter that you saw me using in this video, and many other. I get them from truetechtools.com, so it's a great way to help support the channel if you're interested in doing so. When you go to truetechtools.com, at checkout, you guys can enter my affiliate code, big picture, one word, and you get a nice discount on checkout on majority of the items. There's a few things that doesn't apply to. And when you use that, though, I get a small commission. So another great way, win-win, to help support the channel. Again, thank you so very much. I really do appreciate you. Leave me some feedback down in the YouTube comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know why you watch these videos. And if you haven't already, please consider sharing these with anybody that you know they would be of interest to. And we will catch you on the next one.